Excellent. Well, thank you for joining. So I'm Dr. Terry Church. I'm in the School of Pharmacy. My area of expertise is education, and hence I am the director of our education team. I will be joined by Jessica Barrington-Trimis, who is an associate professor in preventive medicine, and she's running a little late, but she will be joining us hopefully in the next few minutes. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll give you an overview of the actual degree that we've designed and developed, and then leave some time open for questions from anyone interested in the program. Overall, our program began, it feels like it's been at least 10 years now, but it's really not been that long at all. It's been just a short development time. What we are is a transdisciplinary and interprofessional group of individuals who study addiction from all types of fields. So we have people who are interested in population science, in social work, in pharmacy, in medicine, journalism, and we come together as a unique group to really look at addiction science from all these different vantage points. Within that, we realized that studying and teaching others about addiction science should not just be siloed into one school. It's great if you're working on a professional degree and you want to get some training in the field in terms of addiction, but if you want to have that broad approach, you really need to have teachers from multiple schools. And we have created for the first time ever at USC a truly multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary program where you will take courses in pharmacy, you'll take courses in social work, you'll take courses in medicine from people who are part of the Institute for Addiction Sciences, and all of these will help to broaden your experience. We do look at it from multiple disciplines, everything from bench work all the way up through to population sciences. And really, this helps us get a broader and better understanding of what addiction is, who it's impacting, and also provides us with a skill set to really look at addiction from cell to society and how it impacts people along the way. Our educational model began with actually Jessica Barrington-Trimis and I were sitting at a luncheon together, and we said, why don't we have an education program where we're actually teaching all the things that we're studying? And that's really kind of how we got our start as part of the Institute for Addiction Science, and we were given the ability to create some programs. And the first thing that we did was create a minor for our undergraduate program, which then blossomed into this master's program. Within it, we have representation from 3 schools to help build the educational model, from Keck School of Medicine, from the School of Pharmacy, and from the School of Social Work. And together we look at different areas that need to be addressed or approached and create curriculum based off of that. We also leverage existing curriculum and bring it into the program in meaningful ways. As with any good program, you have to have good objectives, and for us, we realized that we wanted to be kind of lean with our learning objectives because they are quite powerful. And the first is to prepare graduate students for work in social work, public health, pharmacy, medicine, dentistry, other healthcare fields, or professional careers within biotech research, development, with a focus on addiction prevention, treatment, and research. And our second objective is to provide a program that aims to provide skills in preventive medicine, public health, social work, psychology, pharmacology, toxicology, and policy through coursework and independent research. We hope that at the end of our program that our students will be able to apply the knowledge that they've learned into looking at the unique facets of addiction, whether that is through prevention, whether that's through the lens of treatment or recovery or even research. We hope that our students will be able to compare and contrast the laboratory science that they're looking at alongside social and clinical research methods to really develop a unique transdisciplinary or translational research program, whether that's focused on policy at the end or actual patients. We hope that our students will be able to construct really unique research designs, especially if they're going into our research track, that will help give them an advantage when they're going for new grants or new opportunities. We hope to have a really good and robust set of research outputs that our students will be able to work with as they develop and grow in the field related to addiction science. And along the way, because we are part of the growing body of knowledge, we want to make sure that we are keeping current with what's happening in the field in addiction science, and we're incorporating any of those new advancements into not only our education, but also in our development. And finally, to develop professional and ethical skills that are related to the fields of addiction science, to make sure that we are approaching this field in an appropriate way, and that we do so for the long term in a sustainable way. So our general master's is 32 units, which incorporates our core coursework, which you see here. Then electives, you take 8 units from this set of courses that you see here, and then thesis units if you are going into our research program. If not, the thesis units are not required. Yep.
Question, you said it for the thesis unit?
Only if you're doing the research program.
Only if you're doing research?
Yep. If you're doing the clinical track, they have a different project that they work on.
And what about the general?
So the general, you don't do the thesis at all.
Okay.
Yep. The curriculum map itself is pretty aggressive, with your first semester taking up to 16 units in the first year and 16 units in the second year, with the intent of moving you through the program in 2 years. Now that doesn't mean that you have to follow that pathway, and for some students it may make more sense to stretch that out or to double up if possible, but this is for the average student, what we think would be a good thing for them to do. We're looking for students from a wide array of different backgrounds to join our program, because that truly will add to the experience not only for the students but also for the faculty who are engaging with them. We're looking for people with a science background, with sociology or anthropology, physical and occupational therapies, law and ethics, history and humanities, healthcare sciences and pharmaceutical sciences. All of these will blend very nicely and lend credence to people taking the addiction science as a degree program. Literature would also be very good, and communication and journalism as well. Unfortunately, they're not listed here, but basically we're looking for people who have a passion in addiction science and are willing to explore new avenues of research and study. The biggest question we usually get asked is, okay, now that I've done this degree, what can I expect as a potential for salary? Which is the big question. So in looking at Glassdoor and a few other similar job sites with a master's degree and using the following keywords, addiction science, and shrinking it down to a smaller set of states, we were able to find some really interesting research. In some cases, hi, how are you? Welcome. So as you can see, the salaries range anywhere from the maximum of just over 180K all the way down to a more minimum range of 39.5. But it depends on where you are, obviously, and what you are willing to do. This 39,000 is for a bachelor's degree only, so when you add in the master's degree, the salary does increase. These are potential jobs that exist, including the job title. If you are interested in looking and searching, you can. Most of our graduates will end up going into either government, policy work, into professional counseling, or even into other areas of healthcare. And a few will go on to do PhD work, hopefully in research-centric areas. So just following on to that, after you're done with us, you may continue on to do things like work at research and general think tanks. Policy and evaluation would be a great place to go. MD/JD, all of the advanced degrees, care facilities, DSW or psych advanced degrees, HR and admin staff, and even industry or peer educators. The future is wide open for you with this type of degree. It's just dependent upon your own ingenuity and imagination. And wherever you want to go, we are more than willing to help get you set up to head that out. In terms of where we sit, we are in a much larger organization. As I alluded to, it was launched in 2018. There are roughly 80 plus faculty members from over 10 different schools here on campus. And the hospitals as well, and it represents at least 17 departments, if not more. I'm sure we've grown since these statistics were put up, for sure, because it feels like we continue to add membership, which is great. Our members together have really come together to develop a unique program with a very set agenda and strategic plan of how we're going to move forward for the next 3 to 5 years. And we've established a really good organizational structure, Jillian being part of that, who you will speak to if you're interested in a degree, and she can walk you through all of the nuts and bolts of how to apply. And we've also looked at initial achievements in transdisciplinary addiction science research, training, and community engagement. And the education and training part represents now an ongoing process of having a master's degree, a minor, and future development that is continuing on. So I am a professor and could stand up here talking for hours about absolutely nothing, but that is not going to be of value to anyone on the call or anyone in the room. So with that really quick and dirty overview of the program and what it encapsulates, I would like to open it up for any questions that people have. And also to introduce my co-host. So welcome. Dr. Barrington-Trimis is here to also help answer questions.
Yes, and we had a question in the chat. It looks like we have a question about the clinical route. If you go through the clinical route, can you complete the thesis? And yeah, I just wanted to, I can answer that really quickly to clarify. So I believe our most recent update has been that we now have an ADSC 594 thesis course. And we made this change really recently, but for the clinical track, it is a 4 units of thesis. For the research track, it's 8 units per thesis, and then for the general track, I believe we actually are doing 2 units of the thesis course. That's what we have currently, but yes. So to answer that question, yes, you can take ADSC 594 if you're in the clinical track. But if you'd like, you can also take SOWK 590 for your thesis.
Terry, are we here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So just to clarify a little bit more on that. So what the thesis actually consists of does look different for people who are on the clinical track versus the research track. So if you're on the research track, what your thesis looks like for the MAS program is a research paper, right? So you are going to be doing the analysis, doing a lit review, actually writing a scientific paper that we are then going to submit for publication. So that's what your thesis looks like if you are on the research track. If you're on the clinical track, the thesis looks a little bit different. What we want for folks who are on the clinical track is they will need to do a certain number of hours actually working in a clinical environment, whether that is working at like a rehab center or working at a government position or doing some sort of internship somewhere where you will spend time actually in a clinical setting. And your thesis is writing about that experience. So it's not a scientific paper that you're going to publish, it's writing about your experiences in a clinical setting.
More like a case study.
Yes. Yeah, so that's kind of the big difference there. And that's why they're different numbers of units. So the clinical hours versus the research hours. So actually writing a research paper will take longer, which is why we're requiring 8 units rather than 4 units.
A great question, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
How many classes will I be able to, I guess, transfer over from other colleges to apply here?
So Jillian, I will have to correct us, but I believe it's 8 units that can transfer in.
Maximum
Yeah,
8?
yes.
Okay.
Is that correct, Jillian?
Yep, that's correct. And they have to be graduate level courses, but yeah, it can be up to 8.
Oh, okay.
Which is good.
Do you have more units than that? Okay, Jill, is there any way to like look into whether there's any way around the 8 unit max? Like, is that something that, what's your name?
Vander.
Vander, could Vander send you an email and see if you could look into that to see, because he's got more than 8 units of graduate work.
Of course, yeah. So I believe it's a USC wide policy, but I can just double check and do some digging.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I graduated from the School of Social Work.
okay, so
Yeah.
that also may make a difference.
And I also have, I attended Cal State LA, but I don't, you said they have to be master level
Yeah.
courses.
Yeah, in order to count for the Masters in Addiction Science program, it has to be master's level courses
Oh.
that, but if you said, so Jillian's contact info is there, she can look into that for
I
you.
talked to her once, I think last week.
Oh, perfect,
Oh, excellent.
great, so you guys know already.
This is actually a great question for you,
Yeah.
Jessica. What supports are provided to students that complete a thesis? I'm currently completing an undergraduate thesis and I have been struggling because of the lack of support offered within my department.
I am so sorry to hear that. You definitely reach out to people and especially as an undergrad, some good resources are often like graduate students who are in the same lab or in the same group. For your master's level thesis, it'll look different depending on whether you're on the general track, the clinical track, or the research track. If you're in the research track, you are going to get hands-on mentoring. The students that I work with, I mean, we meet every single week to talk about their progress, to talk about next steps, to see where they've come. And I personally am a very, very hands-on mentor because at the end of this, right, we're submitting a paper together. And my name's gonna be on that paper, and so the paper needs to be good quality, right? So I'm gonna hold you all or whoever I'm working with to high standards and make sure that you have everything that you need to be able to accomplish that goal of getting this paper ready to go and submitted at the end. Some mentors will be a little bit more hands-off, but this is also something that you have control over, right? So you can absolutely meet with somebody and meet with a potential faculty member and say, hey, like, tell me a little bit about your mentoring style. And some faculty members will say like, yeah, you work on your thing, and when you have questions, you reach out to me, right? And that's just the way that some faculty members do, and that works really well for some students. But other faculty members like myself will say, yeah, we're gonna meet every single week and we're gonna check in on how you're doing, and I'm gonna answer any questions that you have, and you're gonna tell me if you're having any issues or if you're struggling. We do, in my lab with my graduate level students, we do a lot of work where it's like, okay, I have to do this task. This task is really overwhelming to me. I don't know, like I'm struggling on getting started. We talk a lot about breaking stuff down. We talk a lot about like, how long should it take you to do this thing? Where do you start? We set deadlines for ourselves. And so I tend to be like a very hands-on, very structured, very like, you know, let's put all the supports in place to make sure that you're successful in what you do.
Definitely, and I think you'll find that across the institution. We have some really good people who really, really care about the progress of our students. Yes, please.
Oh, will this be a semester or quarter sessions?
Semester.
Semester?
Yes, USC is on a semester system.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's how many weeks, 16?
15 weeks
15.
of class
15
with 1 week of
weeks.
exams. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many classes can you take per semester?
So you're allowed to take up to 21 units without having an additional fee. And after 21 units, they give you it's like a $500 fee for every unit that you go over the 21.
Yeah, 21 is a lot of units for a semester
I
though.
won't be taking that.
No, I would say most students in our who are in the master's program this year are taking 3 classes in the fall semester and 3 classes in the spring semester, and then maybe they'll take 1 class over the summer.
Yep.
That's pretty standard.
Oh, they have the summer session here?
Yeah, we have some
Yeah.
classes that'll be offered in summer session.
We do.
Yeah, I think as a graduate student, 6 units is considered full-time,
Yep.
is that correct?
That's correct.
What was that again? Say that again?
So as a graduate student, 6 units is
6
considered
units?
full-time.
Yep.
6 is
Yeah.
full time, okay.
But the average is about 12 is what.
I think most students take 12 units for like the fall and spring semester is pretty typical.
Yeah.
But you can take 1 or maybe 2 or something you're comfortable with.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If you only want to take 1 class in the fall, totally fine. You can absolutely do that.
Okay.
There, you know, in order to graduate, there's a required number of units,
Mhm.
right? And so if it takes you 4 years to get there, it takes you 4 years to get
So
there.
32 is the graduation for
Yes.
everything?
Yep, 32 units in order to get your degree.
Okay.
Yeah, and whatever that looks like, if that looks like 6 units a year for 4 years and then another, you know, it's whatever you want to do is totally fine.
Awesome. Any additional questions from online?
I was just going to ask if you had any examples or anything about like what students have done after they've left your program.
So we're not quite at that point yet. We just accepted our first cohort last fall.
Oh,
So
wow, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, this fall.
This fall,
Yeah,
yes,
our first
this fall.
cohort are in their first semester of the program, and they are doing awesome. We have been just totally blown away by this first cohort of students. They're fantastic. So we don't have data on what they're doing yet, but you know, we have started talking about it with them. We're thinking about it. They're and the students really vary in what it is that they want to do after they graduate.
Thank you.
No problem.
Question,
Yes.
is there financial aid available?
Yes. So there are different avenues through which to get financial aid. So we, through the Institute of Addiction Science, have small scholarships that can be used to offset, like if you have to move at all, if you need to buy books, anything like that. So we have, and those range from, I think we gave out scholarships between 2 and 5,000 or 2 and 10,000, something like that, this year. And then through USC, there are some opportunities, and Jill would be a good person to talk to about whether there's so there's definitely financial aid in the way of like loans, student loans, right? But in the way of, I know, nobody wants to take out student loans.
Yeah.
I know. But there also, I think there are also opportunities for like need-based financial aid
Mhm.
packages through USC. But that's a good question, again, to ask Jill, and Jill can probably inquire with the financial aid office, or you can reach out to financial aid office separately
Okay.
and just ask them. And when they tell you how much they'll give you, push back and ask them for more,
Okay.
Always.
always. They typically will give you more if you ask for it.
Can always use more.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I just put in the chat the link to the financial aid offers for graduate students, and then Vander, I can email you as well that link, so it's easy to access.
Yes,
Awesome.
please.
I thought there was another question in the chat maybe that I saw.
So there was, but it was related to, hold on one second, it kicked me out. It was related to the number of units for.
I thought I just saw one come up right now.
Oh yeah, I can read it out. It's what psychological support is provided for students who in the clinical route may be prompted by something that reminds them of something personal or potentially traumatic. I think it's a great question. There's a lot of support at USC, mental health support. So there's the Trauma Resource Institute, that's part of the School of Social Work that graduate students can access. And then there's also the Counseling Center at USC, which is available to all students. And I personally, as the academic advisor, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, so I have my own resource list that I can provide to students who may need some mental health support as they go along.
I'll tell you from personal experiences. So through student health, they have a pretty a very, very solid mental health program. And when I was a graduate student here, utilized it and found it to be better than any of the other universities I've ever been at, and better than like Kaiser, for example, which I had as well. So there's definitely, I think USC does a really good job of recognizing that it is stressful to go to graduate school, right? And so they definitely want to make sure that students have access to resources that they need. And so the USC resources, in my opinion, tend to be pretty good.
Definitely.
That's a great question.
Within the clinical track as well, you'll be meeting regularly with people who are also clinicians. You'll be doing some decompression exercises and talking about your experiences as well. So they're all very well familiar with what you may be experiencing, and they're willing to help out.
So I had one other question. And,
Sure.
so for those of us that it's been a minute since we were in the academic setting as a student, what does that look like?
So I'll tell you, we have I think 2 students who are who had it's been a minute for them too since they've been in graduate school, and honestly they've done really well this semester. I think folks who have spent some time outside of college, outside of graduate school, bring a lot of real life experience to the program and to their cohorts. And these students in our cohort this year, I have not observed have really struggled to get back into doing academic work. In my class, which is a research methods class, it's very, very structured and very, each week we do a little piece together. And so there's a lot of structural supports in place to help and make sure that things are going okay. And, in this semester, there's been stuff that comes up and it's, somebody has a family thing that's going on, and we've been really flexible in terms of just making sure that students are supported in making progress in what we want them to walk away from this program with and from each class with.
Definitely. And don't be intimidated by it, because we're very open to discussions with our students to make sure that you feel comfortable in our classes. Many of our classes are taught in a very unique style where it's more active learning than it is traditional lecture. So you won't be getting, this, I'm going to stand up here and talk for hours and you have to take notes. It is very immersive, where you'll be doing a lot of discussion, a lot of reading outside of class, where you come in and then share your ideas.
And doing, a lot of doing. And I feel like students learn from doing things, right?
Definitely.
How do you learn to write a grant? You do it. How do you learn to write a research paper? You write a research paper. How do you learn to design a study? You design a study, right?
Yep.
We'll give you some information on how to actually do that, so you're not starting from scratch. But that's what we want you to walk away from, right? Is being able to do things.
Yep. And make sure that you're comfortable in doing it too.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting within the recovery community. They are really pressing people to take on larger roles and even run for public office on a recovery platform. So I'm just like, okay, maybe there's more for me here. So that's
awesome.
great.
That is really awesome.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
and if you guys are looking for students, that might be a place you might want to check out, Mobilize Recovery.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot of students that have a history of addiction in their family, right? This is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for anybody, but then, I think having gone through a lot of things really makes people quite interested in trying to figure out not only what is going on, but how we can change.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think we have a lot to learn about that. And one of the things that we really want to do with this program, and the reason why with the clinical track, for example, we put you guys out into the community, is that I think, we don't want to be a program that sits in the ivory tower and talks about addiction that has no addiction experience and no experience in the real world. We really want to make sure that we are understanding really, truly what is going on. Because if you don't understand it, you can't change it.
Exactly. And from all facets, from people who are just beginning treatment all the way through to recovery and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. other questions? Well,
Great.
if anything does come up, definitely you can email Jill and she will forward on to us. I can put my email into the chat if you would like, or I'm pretty easy to track down, as long as you can spell church.
Yeah.
Where are the classes going to be held? Here or at the health science?
It'll be a mix.
A
Yeah.
mix?
A mix, yeah. So some of the classes will be within departments or schools that are based here, like all of your social work classes will be based on this campus. The classes that are specifically addiction science classes, it will depend. So this semester, my research methods class is on the main campus because there were no classrooms on the health sciences campus. And some of the other ones, like if you take classes in preventive, in population and public health sciences, those will all be on the health sciences campus. So it'll be both.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Great question.
Yeah, so the website is good. You can find our contact info there or reach out to Jill. Jill knows how to get a hold of us if you have specific questions, if you want to know about specific classes, you know, whatever, you know, any questions that you guys have would be great.
Yeah, don't be shy.
When do classes start again?
So classes go from the third week of August through this is the last week of classes, this week. And then there's finals will be next week or the first half of the week after, and then classes start again in January, like the third week of January?
Yep, January.
Or second week of
They
January,
start in January?
yes,
Okay,
for the next semester.
okay.
Yeah, and they go from January through end of April, early May.
Yes, to clarify, for fall 2024 enrollment, the classes start August 26th.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. What was
Oh,
that
end of
again?
August,
What was that again?
August 26th
It's what?
for fall
Oh, for the
2024.
fall classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first day of classes for that
And the
semester.
winter is starting in January?
Yeah, the spring semester starts in January.
In January, okay.
But yes, if you're like me and at midnight you remember the question that you had to ask that you totally forgot to ask, feel free to email us. We're happy to answer questions.
Yeah, and we may have some other events this spring as you all are considering applying, and we can Jill push out some information about other things that are going on
Definitely.
for sure.
And if you're doing the application and things come up, you have questions about what you're being asked to answer or what you're being asked to do, reach out.
Yeah.
We're happy to walk you through that as well.
Who do we see about the application? Or is that online?
The application's online. You can also ask Jill if you have any questions, or as you're filling it out, or with anything really.
Okay.
She'll be a good resource. Jill's a good resource because she knows who to talk to for whatever it is that you need. So you have questions about financial aid, she can point you to the financial aid office. Questions about classes can point you to the instructors. So Jill's a good center person to talk to, for sure.
She knows people.
She knows people. Yeah, so early deadline is February 1st, final deadline is May 1st. Was there another comment in the chat?
So the question was, when's the application deadline?
Oh, perfect. Great.
Jillian, do you have those details? Early deadline is February 1st
and May 1st.
and May 1st.
Yep,
Excellent.
that's right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
What was that again? Application deadline is gonna be February 1st
So February 1st is the early admission application deadline
for
for the program, for the fall semester.
January?
No, February 1st for the fall semester, so beginning in August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
And for January is what?
we haven't had any students start,
so we're fall admit. So we're fall admittance, meaning we only accept for the fall. That's when you start, and then you start in the fall. You can defer to the spring if you want to, after you've been accepted, but everyone comes in the fall.
Oh,
are we gonna change that at some point?
I think so. I
Okay,
think we should
yeah.
have rolling admission.
So, let me see if I get this right. So if I apply now, I won't start until August?
Yes.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. So I missed January altogether, right?
So we don't accept for January.
You don't accept for
Yeah.
January, but you
Yeah.
accept for August.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we start with the school, typically, so with the most programs start in August during the fall semester.
Okay.
But we definitely should change that
Yeah, we should, yeah.
and have it more open.
And the deadline for August is,
The last deadline is May 1st.
it's May 1st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you, you can apply by February 1st and we'll give you kind of a quicker turnaround and letting you know if you're accepted. But May 1st is the final deadline for fall semester.
Okay. And classes won't start till August?
Yes.
Awesome.
Right, thank you all for joining us.
Yes, definitely. And like I said, if you need anything, reach out. Don't be shy. That's what we're here to help, is answer questions.
Sounds good.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.